Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Earth, Sea, Love podcast. This podcast is for and about women of colour and our relationship with nature. Hosted by me, Sheree Mack. The Earth, Sea, Love podcast is committed to exploring the experiences of women of colour with Mother Nature. We want to provide spaces where the hidden voices in the environmental and conservation conversations can explore their relationship with the natural world. Inspired by our time spent outdoors, we amplify the voices of women of colour, our stories, our conversations, interviews, photography, writing, and artwork. We'll be exploring our legacies, histories, and memories which have had an influence and effect upon how we perceive ourselves within the natural world and within the environmental and climate justice movements. Welcome to the Earth, Sea, Love podcast. The Earth, Sea, Love podcast has been made possible by the funding from National Lottery Heritage Fund. Thank you. And good morning to you. I come to you on Thursday morning, Thursday the 15th of October. And I come to you, well, usually, it's always the case. I come to present or bring the beginning of our next episode of the Earth, Sea, Love podcast, and I always come unscripted. I don't have a plan on what I'm going to chat about each time because I like the spontaneity of it. I like that on the spur of the moment energy. So this morning I come to you and I'm just so full of things I want to say, people I want to thank, and it's like, oh my gosh, where to start? So I'm just gonna start, and the first question I'm gonna put out there is just ask you, how are you doing? How are you really doing? That's the first question I always ask any guest on the podcast, and I'm asking you because sometimes we're going on in our lives, doing or being, and sometimes people around us fail to ask us that. But more importantly, we fail to ask ourselves. So I'm just asking you, how are you? How are you feeling? So you can get in the habit of asking yourself more, because you deserve to touch in and check in with yourself. And I'd like to say, first of all, thank you to everyone who has sent me birthday wishes and happy birthdays, greetings, and sung to me. This week I celebrated my 49th birthday on the 13th of October. But I'd also like to do a shout out first to Amanda. And you know who you are. You had your birthday on the 12th of October and I forgot that it was the 12th, just before me. So here is my birthday wishes and hugs out to you. You are such a wonderful person, Amanda. So sending you a lot of love. And the guest on today's podcast, Betsy Perez, actually also had her birthday this week, and that was on the 12th of October too. And she turned the big 3-0. So happy birthday for the 12th, Betsy. And so Betsy Perez is our guest on today's podcast. And it's a case of, you know it yourself. sometimes you go through life and you didn't realize that you had to meet someone who was going to be a guide or a gateway or a portal, actually, into a part of yourself that has been cornered off, secreted away, hidden, repressed. And Betsy is that person for me. I mean, there's loads of other people as well, but at this present time in my life, it was Betsy. So Betsy describes herself as a sexual reparenting and intimacy guide. And we do discuss this on the podcast, we met virtually, and I attended one of her writing workshops. Betsy used to work in theatre. She is a wordsmith. And this writing workshop really opened me up to how I've been living my life. I'm just going to go take a little sip of my latte because I'm getting a bit dry. That's much better. Yeah, and how and that is a good indication of how I've been living my life, of not being in my body, not touching in with all the sensations and feelings and messages that I have been receiving from my body through time, most recently, and taking this workshop with Betsy was a wake-up call, was a reminder of how much pleasure and joy that I had been denying myself, and it is a practice, and that is my buzzword always. It is a practice, man. And yeah, so yeah, we do talk about that, how we do not live in our bodies, and I know now, and Betsy does talk about this too, the idea that we have that wounded inner child. And if we don't get in touch with that inner child, that wounded inner child, then we're just going to go through life half-assed and disconnected from ourselves, our true selves, our whole selves. And Betsy's just come out with a podcast, which is Sexually Reparenting Ourselves. I think that's the full title, but I will put it in the show notes. And where she does talk intimately and honestly and expertly, knowingly about being an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse. And she says in there the idea of like, it broke her heart being abused as a child. And she didn't know. And she went through a long time in her life, from childhood to adult, of not being connected to herself, of gaps in her memory. And she describes it as having that broken heart, but you can't see, it's not tangible, is it? You can't see those internal wounds. And these internal wounds are bleeding out. It's internal bleeding all the time. And our behaviors, or the way that we act out, is almost like, and this is what she said, it's like us smearing that internal blood outside. Our behaviors is that smear of that wound, that pain, that suffering. And when I heard her saying that, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, totally. And, I haven't been sexually abused as a child, but I have been physically abused as a child, and also as a full-grown woman. And I know that I've been carrying around wounds inside because of that. And then also because of other things that have happened to me, which I have been speaking about since it happened, I've always been open and honest about what happened to me 5 years ago when the shit hit the fan and I was publicly accused of being a plagiarist. And I've always spoken about that. And that's something that Betsy does also touch upon, the idea that our stories and our voices are the key. If I do not share my story, I am doing a disservice to myself, because through my story, through testimony, through Betsy's story, through Betsy's testimony, she's not only helping other people, I'm not only helping other people, but we're also helping ourselves. We're healing ourselves. And it's up to you listeners to take the gems out of these stories and see how they apply to you or how they can help you. That's your responsibility. You know, because when we share stories, we're exposing our souls. We're taking out pieces of our souls and holding them up to the light, like nectar or amber, and we're turning it around in the light to see the different fissures and the different tints and cracks and crevices. And through the process we grow. Through the process we are becoming whole. So this episode with Betsy was just recorded last month, so it is hot off the press, and I am learning through experience. So this episode has been pushed up the queue slightly so I could not make the same mistake that I did with Alwyn Wilson's Exploring Creative Connection course that you missed out on attending her October offering. So I'm learning. I'm learning on the job. And so I've brought this episode up the queue so we can share that Betsy has a workshop that is happening this Sunday, that is the 18th of October, and it's all about celebrating. It's called Carnal and Cosmic, Celebrate the Origins Workshop. And it's a 2-hour workshop where she's actually working with another woman. And it's about teaching us how to listen to our bodies and discover our own unique origin stories. This is Betsy's ballpark. How she has, and she's still on that journey of healing herself through connecting with her body, listening to her body. And that's how we met, as I was saying. She shone a light on a blind spot of my own. And we talk about this in the episode. Okay, so I should have said also, there's a trigger warning. There is going to be a mention of sexual childhood abuse. And also there is mention of female bodily parts. And I'm not going to apologize for mentioning the vulva and our vagina, because that's how I was brought up. That's how it's in society, that we don't talk about our female parts, our female, and I'm not going to say sexual organs, because that's how they are, sort of like boxed off. Yeah, that's just there for sex. But it's not. It's our vulvas, our vaginas, our yonis. I love that word. Are not just for other people. They're ours. And we talk about how we can reclaim them or claim them or just start connecting with them. The idea of paying attention to our breasts, to our ass, to our legs, to our ankles, and, you know, just honouring them by touching them and saying, hey, I know you're there. I can feel you. So we do discuss that. Why, I said that Betsy's been feeling a hole within myself of having more of a deeper connection with my body. Yes, I do get in the sea, and that is the reminder that, oh my gosh, I can feel. Oh, that's the shock to the system. And that is my reminder to get back into my body. But then when I'm not in the sea, when I'm going about my business. It would be good to be in my body then and not be in my head. So that might be cupping my breast while I'm waiting to check out with my salad at the supermarket. It might be lingering my hand a bit longer in the back pocket of my jeans, so I can just send some love and some focused, intentional thought and feeling towards my body. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again, I need to get loving on my body, because my body is how I live my life. It's the only way that I am present within this world now, in that sense, in a physical form. It's my body. And I know I've got spirit and I've got soul. It's how I experience the world, through my body. And we forget, man, we're disconnected from our bodies. And that's where nature has helped and supported me. And the same for Betsy. How we connect with ourselves. And it's that spiral. I've been talking about this a lot recently. And it's that spiral of reconnecting or connection for the first time. Connecting to nature. Well, connecting to nature means that I can reconnect or connect with myself, and that means I can have a better or deeper connection with others. Yeah. And then when I have this connection with others, I'm talking about nature and the connection with me. So then they might have that, go out and try that connection with nature, and then they have a better connection with themselves, and then they can go on and pass. Oh my gosh, it's the domino effect. But it's that spiral, and it all comes from connection. And in order to understand connection, we need to have a handle on disconnection. What does disconnection mean? Disconnection from ourselves, others, and nature. Again, sleepless nights. I did say I'm 49. And but still doing the schooling. Early mornings this week, because it was my birthday. I think it was Christmas morning when Ella came in, but this morning, tired. Yeah, because I am working through the night, because if I can't sleep, I better do something. So, and it was the light and a slight breeze coming through the kitchen window, and I just thought, it's not raining, we don't need to take the car. Not sure if I'm in any fit state to handle a bag. Let's walk to school. And Ella got out of the shower and I delivered this news to her. And it was like, oh my gosh, you'd think I'd said I was going to cut off her legs, her face. But I never saw her get ready so quick. So we were out the door and we walked to school. And it took longer than we anticipated. Not because we were walking slow, but because we were in this sort of like, it was a buzzing excitement to be walking out, feeling the cold, crisp air on our cheeks. And I can still feel it now after coming back and sitting down to record this. But then we would be stopping to look at the coloured leaves, to check out the berries. Oh my gosh, look, these berries are coming out the flowers. No. Maybe the flowers were there first and now it's the berries time. Oh, wow. And you see the contrast between those? That's that delicate pink colour. But the berries are just such a hard, dark, black colour. Wow. What beauty in the contrast, sort of thing. And then, oh, what's this? What's this funny looking thing growing out of the leaves? It looks like a cone of flowers. What's it? And just exploring our surroundings, and that, the idea of you can drive fast past stuff every day and not notice. But once you take that time to stop and walk the same route, you are aware of so many new and different things, and you are connecting with them and making notes of them and appreciating them. And that, just a thought there, but that could be the same thing of how we're driving fast past our lives in these bodies that we've got, and we're missing out on just slowing down, dropping into our bodies and just feeling, becoming aware, opening our senses, breathing deeply. So it was really good to walk to school with Ella this morning. I think we were just a couple of minutes late, but she went across that crossing and then she ran into school. I felt it, the joy, but the joy that was from her body. And so that means I just had to turn around and walk back home. But it wasn't a chore, it wasn't taxing, because there was that energy of joy and pleasure glowing or surrounding my body. Because I actively chose with intention to get into my body this morning, instead of disconnecting from it, numbing it, drinking loads of coffee, stuffing my face with food, getting back into bed or watching TV and switching off. No. Because, there's pain and there's suffering being connected with yourself. Too right, because we're human. We're living in this world, we're living in this society, we're living in testing and uncertain times. But there's also joy and pleasure to be had. And if anyone's been seeing my recent Instagram posts, I've been leading into the joy. Anyway, this is much longer than I was anticipating. But hey, what can I say? I don't get to chat to you very often, and I'm so pleased that we decided to bring you an episode in October, every week in October. Details about what's in this episode will be in the show notes, but I do hope you stick around to listen to the whole shebang, because it is quality. And I know I say that every episode, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't say it was quality. And you have a listen and you'll have to agree with me. Anyway, here's wishing you a good day, and thanks once again for listening to the Earth Sea Love podcast. Take care. Bye for now.